Hello friends, I'm Brian, and this is Gizmo Board Games. And today, I am reviewing a game created by Daryl Durston, a first-time designer, or at least a published designer. This is his first published game, published by Play Now, and that is Planet Flipper, Property Adventures in Space. And Planet Flipper, I keep wanting to say Flipper, you are somebody who is flipping a planet for a client. In this game, you're going to have some resources that you're going to play as cards and play as buildings that you'll build. So the more buildings you build into your tableau, the less resources you're going to have for later in the game. So you're going to play through basically 7 rounds. And as you do, you're creating resources, building things up into the planet to attract your client. There are 4 things you're going to have to build up because it is a planet. You're going to have to get your oxygen supply, your water supply, and a couple other mandatory buildings built and then upgraded fully before you can win the game. And in order to do this, you're going to have robot friends that are going to help you along the way, and you're going to have to create them and upkeep them utilizing one of the resources, which is oil in this case. So as you play through a round, you're going to build and advance your resources. Utilize your robots to upgrade and build more things. And in order to win the game, you will have to have fully advanced the 4 required buildings and create at least 8 robot friends at the end of the round in which you declare you're finished, because you're not required to play through the whole game. And if you finish early, you can call it then or continue playing for more points because each building is worth a point value. So I'm going to go old school again, try this overlay camera. So let me move that up a little bit more. Let's get into how to play. I'll play through a real quick once over, and then I'll give my final thoughts as usual. I'll probably cut in some inserts and such because no matter how much I tried, everything's just super washed out. But you have a reference card here. This is a solo player game only, solo only game. So, I don't mind that. Some people might. So if that's not your thing, maybe keep an eye on it in the future if you find yourself wanting a solo game. But this is solo only. It plays 20 to 30 minutes. I think my last game was 27 minutes that I played here warming up as a refresher. But anyway, so looking at the game, you're going to have some cargo cards. And these are going to be basically how you determine your level of, what am I called? Challenge level, basically, of the game. You can play with all 4 of these as kind of the easy mode, or you can pick 3, 2, 1, or if you really want to challenge yourself, 0 cargo cards. You've got the general building / resource cards here. I don't know how many cards are 20-ish cards in this deck, and this is also going to be kind of the game's timer. In addition to that, you've got the 4 required building cards, and these are the ones I was talking about that you are required to build and then upgrade in order to win the game. And a couple of them have, as you see here, tracks that do have to be fully advanced before you can call that card completely upgraded. So you have your atmosphere, your land, your main base, which is basically your robot hold, and your temperature gauge. Along with that, some of the cards in here, you got defense systems, you got mining depots, which will help you mine some ores, you got oil refinery, those will help you gain oil, storage facility will upgrade your storage capabilities, because as you see on the board here, you've got 3 different levels. So when you start the game, you're only going to be able to get up to 3 of each of the goods. That is the robot track, the water track, batteries, the oil, and the ore. So, in order to get these tracks further, at some point you will need to upgrade, what was it that I just had? And I put it away. The holding zone, I believe. No. Storage facility, yes. So, the first storage facility, bad placement. All resources go up to 6, and then once you upgrade it, they'll all go up to the max, which is 10. And again, with one of these required cards, that's how you're going to get your robots from max level 6 and to max level 10. Again, you're going to need to have at least 8 of them at the end of the game to declare a victory. In order to start the game, you are going to go through the landing phase. And in the landing phase, basically, you're going to decide what level of challenge you want for cargo cards. You will set up the game components as displayed here. You'll shuffle all these cards up. You'll pick 5 of them as kind of your base, and then you can put, you know, whatever cargo level and the required cards. Oop, I'm putting those in the wrong place. On top of the main deck, and you can shuffle those in as well. So we'll give those a quick shuffle and set that out and get ready. On top of that, you're going to figure out if you want to play with a client. They recommend the first game you don't play with a client, but these clients are going to each have their own wants and needs, and they'll give you a point value based on what those are. So there are 5 different clients that come in the game, and this is how you're going to get a little variety in your game that want different things. So those are kind of your goals you're going to set out for to get those bonus points. And this game says you don't really win unless you score 50 points. But you win from upgrading these 4 buildings and have the 8 robots is at least good enough for your client to move in, but you want to impress them and score 50 or more points along the way. So you take your starting hand, and from these you'll choose one building which is going to automatically, for free, go into your tableau, and your tableau is going to be a 3x3 grid to start with, and when you upgrade one of these cards it becomes a 3x4, so you get 12 buildings you can build and upgrade, and you can always place them on top of each other. But again, the deck's going to drive your game, so that would be disadvantageous to you to continually put buildings down. But from one of these buildings, you'll pick it and put it fully upgraded in your tableau as a starting building point. The rest of them you'll generate the one resource they generate. So I've got 2 waters, 1 battery, and then I can choose an oil or an ore. I'll go ahead and choose an oil because I want robots that will want oil at the end of the round. The rest will become vaporized. Those are gone forever, but they may be brought back from various things you do along the game. And then, to start the game, you'll draw 4 cards into your starting hand. And to play, you'll either build them for the cost on the side to include potential number of robots, or you can discard them for the resource. So I'll discard that for an ore, that for an ore, that for a water, and maybe I'll build this because I really like the synthesizer. So let me show you how to build it. I would need to have 1 water, 2 batteries, which I actually don't have, so I couldn't build that. So I guess I would just turn that in for another battery and hope to build it later. Then I would draw 4 more cards, do the same thing again. So I could turn it in. Well, I can't hold more water, so I'll hang on to that for a minute and show you something. The other 3 are going to be batteries, so I do want 1 battery, but now I'm kind of stuck. I can only generate batteries and water. So the other thing I can do is turn in 2 cards to the discard to make 1 robot. Any 2 cards, make 1 robot. Or I could turn in any 3 cards to the discard pile to generate any 1 resource. But I think in this instance, I will create that 1 robot. And now I've got this card that's kind of stuck here. So I guess I'll build this storage facility because it's a pretty good one anyway. It increases my storage hold, which is my problem right now. But in order to do it, I would have had 2 robots. So maybe that's just a wasted card now. And I'd just do this until the deck runs out. Maybe I built that along the way, for example. Maybe I built another robot. All right, so at the end of the phase, the first thing I'm going to do is basically feed my robots. And that's going to cost me 1 oil per robot. So if I had 2 robots, I only have 1 oil. So I would lose any excess robots that I couldn't feed. So in this case, I would lose 1 robot because I didn't have the 2 oils. All right. The second thing you're going to do in the cleanup phase, or the report phase, as it's called in this game, is to move your oxygen tracker down 1 level because you've only got 7 turns to make your planet habitable. And that's represented by the top track, the oxygen track. The third thing you're going to do is take your discard pile and reshuffle it. Then you'll start the next round. Now, starting with the second round onward, instead of doing the setup phase, you're going to look at an event card. So you'll flip the top card in the event and see what happens. In this case, it's peaceful. Then I would play through the round again, drawing 4 cards, building and acquiring resources as desired, until I've gone through the whole deck once again, my resources, my robots, whatever the case is, tableaus, build up, etc., etc. One thing you'll notice on some of these cards, like the synthesizer, you can put out these cubes to track when you're using it. And the same thing on the upgraded essential buildings. So that's what these cubes are here for. One other thing I didn't mention is on the cargo cards. They're good for any resource. So they're a wild resource card, or at any time you can vaporize one to get 3 resources of your choice. But again, once you vaporize, your deck's getting depleted, making each round go quicker. And again, at the end of the round, feed your robots. Lose any robots you couldn't feed, and the oxygen goes down. Again, the game ends when either you've upgraded all 4 of your essential buildings and you got at least 8 robots, and you declare that you're ending the game. You'll count up the point value of all your built cards, all your achieved client wishes, and you'll see what your final score is. You lose the game when you run out of time, and you do not complete those goals. So, as you can see, the game plays fairly simple. You're drawing cards, you're playing resources, you're building, using those resources. Your resource track is going to go up and down. I'm going to go back to the front cam here and give my final thoughts. My final thoughts using the old Gizmo scale. So, gameplay for a single player game. I kind of like this one. I like deck management, tableau building, and this has that. You either using your card in your tableau or using it to generate resources which will help your tableau later. I really like that kind of give and take and the thoughtfulness of what do I want to use this card for, which resources do I want to use now, what do I want to save, what might I need later, and the only thing you can really see is the next draw card on your draw deck and what's in your hand. I like that your limited tableau, again, starts with 3x3 grid, but then you upgrade it. You're limited, you're blocked off from your resources, but once you get certain buildings out, you can upgrade them. Some of the buildings give you defense measures against some of the events. Half the deck is all clear, but the other half are bad and or a few good things that could happen at the end of each year as you're building. And so you're going to have to be ready to deal with those things, and having the defense matrix on your board helps you prepare for that. Some of the cards, like the Oasis, which I chose as the starting card, it's just worth a lot of points and it doesn't do anything else. Others are going to allow you to draw resources during your planning phase. So yeah, it's played just in those 3 phases. You're planning, where you're dealing with your event, and you're generating resources from buildings you have on the board. Your action phase, which is the bulk of the things, where you're drawing the cards, playing them, or discarding them, or upgrading. And I didn't really show that, but basically you're just going to utilize the resources at the bottom of a card to flip it over, and then you've got an upgraded ability of that building. And the final thing is then at the end of that, you're just going to advance the next year and prep for the following phase. So gameplay, pretty easy. It's good for a solo game. Nothing too overwhelming about it, but it is a tough game. I've played it a few times, and I've only officially won once, and my score I think was a 37, so it wasn't even that great of a score, but I did meet the goals set out by the game. So that is my thoughts on gameplay. Decent, and in a small box for a solo player, it's an inexpensive, decent game that gives you a little bit of a challenge, a little bit of fun along the way, and doesn't take that long, 20-30 minutes, and you're in and out once you get used to the game flow. All right, the ingredients. The cards are okay card stock. They're better than the old-fashioned play cards where it was just perforated card stock that you used. This is a slight upgrade from that, as they're moving into making some more traditional style games. The player board, again, is just a thin kind of piece of laminated cardboard. Not even laminated, but it's got the coating on it. The cards, they're not bad. It's average. Everything's average about it. The pawns you can pick up at any pawn shop. The cubes, average cubes. Everything about this is average, but it's cheap. This game I think cost $15-20. I don't remember. Not much at all. compared to other board games that have better components. I feel like the quality and value are right in line with each other. Everything's average, not bad at all. It got a lot of play. I could see them getting worn after some time, but if you're only pulling this out every once in a while for a quick solo thinker puzzly resource game, the components work for that. So average components, not bad, not good, or great, I should say. Nothing exponential. The play boxes are just flimsy box cover, little cardboard box. They get the job done, and that's it. They keep the prices down, I think, is the main objective. All right, is it easy to play? You saw me kind of hastily run through how it plays. Not a whole lot to do. You draw cards, you play the resources, or you pay resources and get them in your tableau, or flip what's in your tableau to upgrade the cards. You're racing against the clock to meet the requirements. You've got some variability in the clients, and that's about it. Nothing super thinky, nothing super hard. The instruction book is 2 sheets of paper, fold in half to make a 8-page book. Nothing super complex in this one at all, other than just trying to figure out the strategy and dealing with a little bit of the luck of the draw, the shuffle, and the event cards. I played one game where I didn't have a single bad event, and the most recent game, every time I flipped it, it was something I had to deal with. But luckily I had upgraded 2 defense matrix, so most of them I could ignore. But yep, not a hard game to play at all. Just a little bit to figure out, and then you're rolling. More of it. Do I want more of this game? Could I see me playing it a lot? And that's where I think this one gets a little bit of a hit, is that while I enjoy the gameplay, there's only so many cards in the deck. There's 5 clients, there's 20 some of the standard cards, and then you're playing for the same essential cards. So eventually you're going to kind of do the same things over and over again in slightly different ways. And I can already feel that after just a few gameplays where I end up maybe building the same buildings to generate what I need, or I don't know how better to say that. I like the game. I don't mind playing it now, but I feel like it could wear out its welcome. I won't say quickly, but sooner than other games that might have more variety to offer. 5 client cards. The event deck is I think bigger than the standard deck, so you could run into some more events perhaps, but that's only going to change up your game so much. So that's one of my knocks about it. It doesn't seem playable for long or a bunch of times in a row. Like, I can play it once over 20-30 minutes. I'm not going to immediately want to play it again, probably. So from that standpoint, yeah, it's not something right now that I find I want a whole lot more of it. I pull it out, I'll play it, I'll put it away, and pull it out again in the future. And it might have a slightly different game just based on the client and the shuffle, but that's about it. On the other side, though, I could see this one being easily adapted for future expansions. New clients could come out, new events could come out, maybe a few different essential buildings, or at least maybe how they play could be different. And you'll shuffle in 4 random one each game instead of the 4 that come with the game. I could see it having some scaling with expansions, and it wouldn't be that hard to adapt to expansions because it's just cards. So maybe you're printing off another sheet or 2 of cards, and boom, you got an expansion that adds some variability to what's already in here. All right, finally, originality. Is it original? Yes and no. The concept of Planet Flipper, flip this house, whatever you want to do, I think is pretty original. Go build a establishment on a planet, get your oxygen levels up, get your temperature up, please a client. I think that's pretty original. Card drafting, resource management, tableau building, not original at all. Dime a dozen. But this one feels fun to me in the way that you're driving the game. With the cards themselves are everything you need in the game. You've just got a little tracker to keep track of it. The resources you need come from the cards. What you're building takes those cards out of your deck. Upgrading those are on the card. You flip them over. And then the robots, just neat little mechanism that aren't necessarily resource, but you're utilizing 2 resources basically to do them, and you need them as a resource. So all that is fun. I think the concept for maybe a not original style of gameplay is very original in going and flipping the planet. I do like it. I think that aspect of it is unique. All right, so how did I rate this overall? Overall, I'm giving it 3 out of 5 gizmos. Not bad at all. Average to slightly above average. Something I'll play for sure by myself, easy to pull out and keep myself occupied for a few minutes. Doesn't take up a lot of space. If I don't take the box, I could probably cut down the space that it takes up in half, just because, take a deck of cards in your bag with you, some tokens, and move on. Probably don't even need the tracker board necessarily if I can just scribble down 1 through 10 on a few pieces of on paper, and so easy to travel with, easy to play by myself in a short period of time. I like it for that. It's an average game, and for someone who follows the Play Games Network for some time, it's a nice change of pace from their typical sports games, or they've got a few other games which you can kind of print and play, and this one could kind of work as a print and play, but I wouldn't want to. So I do enjoy it for what it is, but nothing super spectacular about it. I think Daryl did a good job in his first design in getting a game that is worthy of playing, and I think that what I would aspire to as a game designer. I've had some ideas that haven't got past my initial concepts, and just to throw it on the old Board Game Geek scale, I think came out to about 6.5 out of 10 there too. So again, for me, that's what I would call average to slightly above average. It's Planet Flipper from Play Games, created by first-time designer Daryl Durston of the Play Game community. So good job on that. And all right, check out my video covering Play Games if you haven't already. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Leave some comments below about your thoughts if you've played this game. Yeah, thanks for watching. I'm gonna leave now.